Welcome to Relax and Chat, episode 52. It's a great pleasure to introduce to you today author Michael Nunneley. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it quite a bit. Should be pretty fun. I do always do a little bit of research on every show to try to have some idea what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I found this really interesting. So, what I'm going to do, at least I'm honest about it, the questions that I want to ask, particularly at the start, are a little bit long with information I found in research. And rather than blabber that and mess it up, I'll just read it. But if you're okay with that, I'll read the question. You go ahead and respond any way you like. That sound good?
Let's roll with it.
All right, that's what we'll do. All right, so the first question. On Amazon, I saw that your debut novel, The Dread, is listed as a cyberpunk urban fantasy thriller. Now, Google describes cyberpunk as a genre of science fiction set in a lawless subculture of an oppressive society dominated by computer technology. Uh, I don't know every genre, particularly every subgenre, so I'd rather look it up and find out.
Right?
So, you're the author, so you know far better than I do. Would you tell us a bit about the story, and then also how does it fit into that particular description?
Well, first, I would like to clarify that it is technically a paranormal cyberpunk urban fantasy thriller, and that is important because that feeds into both there's a very heavy paranormal aspect to it, and it
Uh-huh.
also the urban fantasy thriller thing tends to play into things like demons or spirits or that kind of a thing. So that's an important part there. I just wanted to clarify that. But the cyberpunk aspects of it are definitely, we are in the 26th century. We are on a space station between Earth and Mars. And it is all the entire society is based upon genetics and how what you need implants just to live in space long term. It's just a fact. And so if you don't have the right genetics, you don't get the right implants. And so the station is basically divided into those who can afford implants and those who can't. And the quality of life is basically scaled on what level of that building you live, where the top level is the peak of society you can reach, and the bottom level is just a lawless oubliette.
Oh,
So I mean, it's pretty. So that's where the cyberpunk aspect comes into there. But and the urban fantasy thriller thing in there is that it is a detective story. Uh, a serial killer named the Purity Killer has just killed his third victim, and it turns out that the detectives that just got the case, well, one of those detectives is the only lead killer on that case.
ooh, ooh, that sounds pretty awesome. I love that you stressed that it's got the paranormal scary aspect because
Hmm.
I'm into horror big time, so I like
Oh,
anything.
nice.
And I like the separation of classes. Kind of makes me think initially of like Titanic. You're either filthy rich up on top or you're down in the gullet of it. And
Right?
that separation and the differences can be very fascinating, and that adds to the story, doesn't it? Uh,
I also used a bit of an old school thing on it. From the 60s and 70s, there was a saying, don't trust anyone over 30.
oh,
Okay, so I took that same saying and I made 30 the level 30.
ah,
All the people from
oh.
31 and above are upper class society. Everyone below that doesn't trust them and doesn't like them.
Wow. Now, one thing I also get out of this, so just that brief little description you did, is it really does sound like a multi-layered story. There's a lot going on, a lot of different things happening at the same time, right? It's not just, hey, this is this and that's it. There's a whole bunch going on, right? It's like a
Oh yeah, the Dread is a wild ride that will take you places you were not prepared to go.
ha ha ha. Okay, well that sounds fantastic to me. I like the game.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to read again because I'm old, I'm tired, and I work too damn hard, and I don't want to screw up the questions. So I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
Uh, your second book, Scorn,
Hmm.
is listed as grimdark. Now, maybe I should know this because I'm a horror publisher, but I don't. So, Google defines grimdark as a genre of fiction, especially fantasy fiction, characterized by disturbing, violent, or bleak subject matter and a dystopian setting. So, if you would you tell us primarily about your story, and then, if you can, just kind of tell us how it ties into grimdark?
Okay. Uh, Grimdark. As far as Scorn and Grimdark, I'm gonna say that first I wrote Scorn and then was told it was a Grimdark story. I did not set out to write Grimdark, but as I understand it, the things that particularly make Scorn Grimdark is that the world is very bleak. There that is definitely in there. Another one, and this is the big one for Grimdark fans. It is very violent. The
Oh,
story. Okay, you not only get ancient warfare, you get murders and graphic murders.
ah.
So there's a lot of that. The punchline, the tagline for the book is "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," and that goes double when she's a sorceress.
Oh, so there's a sorceress in the story. So this is a fantasy story, but a very
Yes.
dark fantasy story.
Yes, and but the dystopian thing is not quite accurate. The world that Scorn is set in, imagine if you will, uh about 8th century, and imagine all of Viking or Norse mythology as you know it is real. These gods are alive and breathing in this world. In
Oh,
fact, the story, I don't know how much you know about Norse mythology, but the story starts out with the main character on a quest to go rescue one of Odin's ravens.
oh. Yeah, I did study. It was kind of required study in college that I learned a lot about different types of mythology. However, to be quite frank, that was many years ago.
Right, right.
I was in college till 92, so that's been a while.
For sure, for sure.
But I did find it incredibly fascinating. I still do. I love when there's elements of that sort of thing in a story. Uh, I'm primarily a horror guy. I write and publish horror. That's
Right,
like number one for me. That's the blood in my veins. But I got to admit, more and more and more, I'm really digging fantasy stories, and especially like your stories, when they go into niches or subgenres that I'm really not that familiar with. So it's like exploring a whole new thing that I've never been in, and that's a
right.
big excitement for me.
Nice, nice.
So while we're doing really great on time, I'll ask if you're willing to maybe tell us with each of the stories, and you can go about this in any way you choose, and you
Okay.
can choose to do it. But a little bit about the main character and the main character's journey in each of the stories, just to give us an idea of what we'll be looking at.
Okay. There are two main characters in the Dread, John Pearson and Alan McCullough.
Mhm.
Um, while I don't describe them as such in the story, if you want a way to picture these characters in your mind,
Uh,
imagine, if you will, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman from Seven.
oh,
I imagined this detective couple as them, but if had they met early on in the career instead of at the end of Morgan Freeman's career.
ah,
So that's how I'm imagining them. As John Pearson is really the main character of the story, though.
mhm.
Um, his journey is one of okay, he goes from he's having serious insomnia issues, really really bad, and he's also has this intense feeling of dread that is eating at him. I describe it as almost like a cancer in his gut. And
Oh,
it is starting to metastasize in that it is affecting other parts of his life. It is starting to seep into his mind. This guy suffers from panic attacks. This guy
oh,
is on the edge of imagine being a homicide detective in the world I described, that space station, for
yeah.
5 years. This guy is on the edge right now. Okay,
Yeah.
and he starts drinking really bad just to try to get some sleep. Starts blacking out. He goes from that to a journey of self-discovery and eventual fulfillment that I don't want to ruin it for you, but this is both philosophically deep, it is emotionally deep, and is existentially deep.
Wow. Yeah, sounds fantastic. Really does. And then the main character for Scorn, how would you describe that character or characters and their journey?
Well, the villain in this particular story is an interesting one. It this is ultimately a story of vengeance, I suppose, on her case, right?
Uh-huh.
She has while she is the villain, she has legitimate concerns here. Okay, the king, the main character of the story. Granted, the timing of it was a little weird, but he promised his heart to her. He gave his heart to her, and they whether they want neither one of them necessarily wanted, but they fell in love, even
Oh.
if it was for a brief time. And then he had to tell her, "Look, I've got a wife and a kingdom back home," and she says, "I'll go with you. You can't come with me." And hence the woman scorned thing. But
Oh.
I mean, so while what she does to him is extreme, and this is a brutal story of revenge. She genuinely has a valid gripe in this. She was
Oh.
genuinely scorned,
Ooh. Now I like that. That's something I don't hear very often is where the quote villain is actually justified in what they're doing. That's
right?
cool. You don't really hear about that. And that, I love things that are, different than the norm or outside the box. I love that kind of thing. And oh, that sounds super great. Uh,
As
both of
far
these
as
books are headed for my TBR. I can't think which one to read first. You have a
nice,
recommendation?
I honestly think that Scorn is better written than the Dread. But
Oh,
that is just my personal opinion.
wow.
Um, as far as King Ingvar in Scorn, though, um, he is a guy that made a huge mistake, and this mistake essentially unravels everything he knows.
Oh.
That is the bleak. That is where the bleak comes into the grim dark of that story.
Oh, oh man, yeah, it does. It sounds great. And it makes sense too that Scorn would maybe be a little bit better written just because you've got more experience. You got your debut
Hmm.
novel, you got through that, got it done. You've learned a few things along the way. And it makes sense that a writer his second book would probably be a little bit more smooth. So that makes total sense. As far as storyline and your descriptions, it's a toss up. They both sound so freaking great. I mean, they do. They sound so cool because they do sound very different, and I love that. Uh,
Nice, thank you.
but absolutely, without a doubt, they'll both get read by me. They have no doubt about it because you do a good sales pitch. I'm going to have to get you in my marketing department. But outstanding for real. So the next thing I'm sure the audience is wondering, and I can't help but ask myself, is that you've got these two very different and very interesting stories under your belt. They're out there published now, available,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I'm going to venture to say that you probably have at least one work in progress. Without any spoilers or anything to ruin it, could you tell us about any works in progress you have going, and is any of them a sequel to either of these stories, or are they all fresh and new and different stories?
No, both Scorn and the Dread are standalone stories.
Uh-huh.
Nothing else getting added there. What I am working on right now is the Omen verse. Now this originally started as a comic series, and it is being turned into prose.
Oh.
Now, as you might have picked up, I'm really big into mythology.
Mhm.
So what I did was I wanted to create a superhero horror universe where all the mythologies exist at the same time. Now, believe it or not, most mythologies start from the standpoint that they're the only gods, that they are the one that created the universe, that there aren't any others. So to rework all of that, I had to do some pretty drastic changes in some cases to actually fit all these mythologies together.
Uh-huh.
And then I mix them together with things like Paradise Lost, the books of Enoch, the forgotten books of Eden. I went to Bible college, so I know about the Bible itself, and I just kind of combined this all and into a universe, and I added obviously paranormal,
Uh-huh.
supernatural. There are superheroes in this story, but all of the characters in this story, all of them are completely broken people, with the exception of two that are like the light in an otherwise very dark universe.
Wow. Wow. Now it does sound like an extremely challenging project. I mean, just off the top of my head, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, Greek mythology. I'm pretty familiar with them. I'm not no scholar, but I'm somewhat familiar with them.
Right.
And blending those in a way that would really work, but yet letting them conflict with each other would be fabulous if you can pull it off. And I guess you're pulling it off, huh? You're going to make it happen.
Well, I'll tell you the trick. There's no way to do it without choosing a centralized mythology.
Uh-huh.
So what I chose to do was I took, okay, I like elements from this, I like elements from this, and these work well together, and I just kind of started from creation up.
Oh, oh, fantastic. And there's a little biblical stuff blended in with all these mythologies, right?
Yes, but I'm gonna say right now, the God in my story is not the Christian God.
Uh-huh.
He may bear the name El, and there is even a Jesus in my story. These are not the people you know. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Essentially, this is an alternate universe.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. Very intriguing, very fascinating. Are you in the process of writing or have you gotten into the stage of editing at this point?
I have gotten the entire thing outlined.
Oh,
It is a
fantastic.
series of books.
Oh, it's going to be a series.
Yes, and
Oh,
I've got it all outlined. I'm currently working on book one. I've got
uh-huh.
about 5 chapters written in it.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only advice I can give you, because obviously you know what you're doing, but I will say, don't rush, take your time.
Hmm.
Release dates don't matter. The quality of the story is what matters. You
Absolutely.
know? But
Absolutely.
you definitely have a fabulous idea, and I can't wait to see. As a matter of fact, I'm specifically asking you that when you're ready to release the first book in that series, I sure hope you'll come on my show and we can promote it and I want to be the first to hear about it because it sounds like a fabulous story. I love the whole concept. I mean, I still think it would be incredibly difficult to do, but that's part of what makes it so freaking fascinating.
To give you an idea of how long I've been working on this story, I first got the idea in 2014.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. But yeah, you put in the time, you do things right, follow the right steps, and you very well are creating solid gold. You may be
Oh, well,
just,
thank you.
you know, it sounds like it could be something exceptional. And I can't wait to hear more about it. Uh, it will, even for one book, from the fifth chapter to completing the first draft, the various rounds of self-edits and revisions, beta readers and such. And then you get into editing and then the production. Yeah, you got a little ways before the release date. But don't stress those deadlines and timelines and crap. You know, do what you do. Apparently, you've got a fantastic uh, sense of creativity, and you definitely got some really good dedication to be able to make sure everything works. Do your thing. You're doing it right. You don't need nobody to tell you how to do it. You got it going on. But
I really appreciate that, man.
I
Thank you.
will say though, don't let yourself rush, and don't worry about self-imposed deadlines because that'll just ruin it. If something that complex, it's going to take time. Give it the time because you're creating something extremely unique. I've never heard of it. Like I said, I've got a very diverse background, and I've heard of all the various mythologies. I have a halfway decent understanding of the Christian Bible. I know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, and to tie all that together into a cohesive work is a work of a masterpiece. You got something good there. You know, it's sort of like a clay sculpture. as long as you don't trip and crunch it.
Right, right.
Yeah, it sounds remarkable. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. Of course, I hope we'll keep in touch, maybe touch base once in a while on Twitter and just see how things are
Sure.
going. And
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, if you ever feel like you want to bounce an idea off my head or something, I'm happy to help every writer. That's a big part of what I do.
Huh,
So,
nice.
if you just come to something like, I don't know, every writer feels like they wrote themselves into a corner sooner or later. Well, I'm really good at punching a hole in the wall and creating a new path, you know?
Right, right, right. I like to
Oh,
say there are no dead ends, only places to turn.
yeah, there you go. Outstanding. Well, I'm sure the audience is going to want to know this stuff. The next segment I like to do is I'll ask you to share your website and social media, that sort of thing. Of
Okay.
course, all the related links will be down in the YouTube description, but I share the videos across my full platform and many of the sites, they can't see the YouTube description.
Mm.
So if you would, just share your website, social media, a way that people can reach out, because I'm sure they're going to want to, and say, hey, Mike, how's that work in progress coming?
Right. Okay, you can find official announcements at Comics Omen on X. You can also find that at Revelation Pubs. That's for Revelation Publications. Those are my two publishing labels.
Uh-huh.
And then my books are all on Amazon. You can get personal updates from me at Nunneley Mike. That's Nunneley Mike.
All right. And the at Nunneley Mike, on what platform is that?
That's X.
On
X.
X. Okay, I
Yes.
wanted to make sure. Uh, I can't remember my own title on X without looking.
Well,
Uh,
mine's my name. It's easy enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mine describes me very well too. It's Brat Rod 64. I've been called a brat a lot in my life. My name's Rod,
Ah.
and I was born in 64. So there it is.
Nice.
Well, we have a few minutes left. If you'd like to share anything with the audience, just any thoughts or advice, anything that you like, you certainly can. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you.
I guess this. I learned one thing that I learned between writing The Dread and writing Scorn was do not let advice hinder your voice.
Mhm.
One difference you will find in The Dread is one is written almost afraid of exposition,
Mhm.
whereas Scorn is just my voice unveiled. Just
Awesome.
this is how I write, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you that it is a much more satisfying and I think fulfilling way to write when you don't let others tell you how you should or shouldn't be writing or whatever. Granted, I think there is a thing with where you should learn certain structures, you should learn certain standards, you should learn the rules of the game before you decide to bend or break them or not use them at all.
Yeah.
But don't lose your voice. That's
Yeah.
that is one lesson I learned.
Very, very excellent advice. One of the primary orders in my publishing house is for the editor to protect the voice of the author,
Mm,
to make sure that your story is being told, not the editor's. You know, that's a
nice.
very important part there. And I can tell you from personal experience, everything I do comes from personal experience.
Mm,
My first year as a writer, at least the first year, between the outright crooks and liars and the very well-meaning writer friends,
hmm
uh, some editors that had an idea what they were doing, some that did not, just as a whole. These people, I'd like to think, mostly wanted to help me, but they almost ended my writing career and absolutely destroyed my first novel because, and this is entirely my fault, I listened to too much, took too much advice, made too many changes.
Thank you. That's what
Uh,
exactly.
and right
Yeah.
now, my very first effort, my first novel, is 125 scenes thrown in a bag and shook up and completely useless. Now, one day I'll revisit it and try to sort it out. But and again, I can't blame any one person. Most of those people meant well. You
Hmm.
know, there were some really dirty dogs in there because us writers do encounter frauds, thieves, crooks of every kind. We do run
Right.
into them. But I would say at least 60 to 70% were people that really meant well. They just didn't know enough to be teaching. And I wiped out the first year of my writing career, the first project I worked on, my very first novel. Simply like you said, I lost my voice and a lot more to listening to too much advice
Hmm.
and following everything as if, well, all these people know what they're talking about. No, they don't.
Exactly. Exactly. See, you feel my pain, man. I like that. All
Oh,
right.
yeah, been there, been there. And you gave very solid advice. And I hope any new writer that sees this will just gobble that up because it'll save you a whole lot of hurt.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
will. Be true to who you are, do your thing. And I agree. Have an understanding of the rules of writing. I don't know why they called them the rules of writing because that makes them sound so constraining and so mean and so bad. They're not really. They're your friends, they're your guides. They help you get your thoughts on the page in a way that people can understand what you're doing. Like Mike said, when you have the experience and the understanding, bend them, maybe even break them, but know what the hell you're doing before you do it. You know?
The trick is seeing them kind of like how you describe them, but I have a particular way I like to say that.
Uh-huh.
The trick is looking at them as guardrails and not fences.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, great way to put it. I'm gonna adopt that if you don't mind.
Dig it.
Well, anybody that knows my show, Relax and Chat, I like to think it's very entertaining. I love meeting creative authors like yourself. Absolutely love hearing the information about both of your books and your work in progress.
Mm,
Completely fascinating how diverse they are and how they go into places that I not only am not real familiar with, in some cases I didn't even know that existed. So that makes it
nice.
even more fun for me to go explore it. And really looking forward to reading your work. Uh, it's a great pleasure to meet you, Mike. And I really hope that when you get a little farther down the road, if you want to come on the show and talk about your work in progress, even before it's ready to release. If you just want to have a chat about my work show, we can do that. It's very fascinating, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. To the audience, episode 52 of Relax and Chat. Can you believe we've come this far? And isn't it such an honor to have Michael Nunneley be the man that's on this show? I'm very happy about that.
Yeah,
I hope
thanks for
you'll
having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolute pleasure to meet you. I'm definitely headed to Amazon right as soon as we close this. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, I'm
Nice.
going to have to flip a coin. Which one do I want to read first? But it doesn't matter because I'm going to read them both.
Very nice.
uh, to everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thanks.